Good afternoon, everyone. Here we are for the second to last race of week 4 of this multi-category tournament. We have a race today between Chemo and phatscott, which is two undefeated coming into this week. I'm joined today on commentary by Kip, and doing tracking is Incompetent Perfectionist. Kip, you want to say hi?
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. I'm really excited about this race. As Vincent mentioned, I think it's our next to last race of this round 4. The last one between two undefeateds. Vincent and I were talking about that prior to coming on. I find this to be a really interesting matchup. Let me give a little quick breakdown. Obviously, I don't know the full skill set of every single runner in this tournament, but cemo has been someone who's experienced player, and I think definitely been on the rise in the last few tournaments, increasing his skill set and becoming a really strong randomizer player. And then phatscott is someone who's relatively new to the competitive randomizer scene, but has been speedrunning Super Metroid for a bit now, and he's doing a great job. So really interesting matchup, and it's really cool to see these two runners be at 3-0.
Yeah, and so we're starting out here with both runners in starting in criteria, which this was a random start category. So, we're starting there. And for those of you who haven't seen this category yet, on the top left-hand corner, you can see it says Crater 3. So in each of the areas, there's going to be major items, and that's going to be the major item count. So it's telling us in all the criteria areas, we're going to have 3 major items, which we're now seeing both players get Morph Ball at the same time. And
Yeah.
Spazer.
Oh, early Spazer. Strong seed. This would be a good time to just make a quick point about Spazer is the kind of item that, similar to Plasma, and what I mean by that is relative to the logic, there are some items that are treated sort of as dead items in terms of logic. And so sometimes if the game front loads you with like majors that don't really progress you, then things can get a little trickier on the back end. So we'll see if that's the only kind of random one we get, or if there are other dead items logically.
All right, so both runners headed up at the top, back to the top side of criteria. Very likely, both of them head over to Brinstar after this. I definitely do not see any reason to go do an early wreck ship play with the boss rando. Can always be dangerous because you could run into a lot of enemies you don't want to run into early.
Yeah, that's a good point, Vincent. Ball shuffle. I think I'm going to take some flack for saying this, but I've been talking about this for a little bit. I actually think ball shuffle might be I think it might have a bigger impact on some race results than just area. Area seems wilder because you're going all over the place, but the way ball shuffle can present certain challenges can really make some seeds very, very difficult, and it's easy to make mistakes. So I think the ball shuffle part of it is really important to keep an eye on, like you said.
Oh yeah, and I've seen some examples of races where maybe a racer it has done wreck ship early and has seen a particular boss, and they're like, oh, well, Dre's there and I have no escape, so they have to immediately reset out and go back. But having that knowledge of knowing where Dre is, it made the rest of the run easier for the runner. Or in one case, it was Ridley in wreck ship, and the runner knew that for the rest of the run. Hey, Ridley's there. So everything else became easier knowing, hey, no matter what, I know it's not going to be Ridley in these other 3 checks. So as long as I have a way to escape Dre's lair, I can do everything.
Yeah, it's a great point. In other words, sort of the big, to wrap up your idea, it kind of is dependent on the context of the situation. I love talking about theory, behind some of these decisions as much as anybody else. But sometimes you got to take certain things with a grain of salt, because it doesn't necessarily mean that choice would be universally the right or wrong, quote unquote, choice in every scenario. There's a lot of factors that are going on. So tell us a little bit, Vincent, about this week's settings relative to the countdown. Like the number up there and kind of how that affects the way the runners play.
So that countdown in each of the major areas gives us that countdown. So we'll see it for example, East and West Meridia. We have criteria pink Bryn, red Bryn. As upper Norfair, lower Norfair, and even Croc gets his own area. Poor Croc who gets acid at every run gets his own area. But runners, as they're running and as they're looking at the progression of what they have, they're able to start making some decisions. Like example, phatscott just saw high jump boots in the back of Gauntlet, which that's something that's a huge movement item that is probably worth coming back. Might be worth coming back for. At the same time, now Scott has that information, knows that's the last major in criteria, and maybe is going to plan on running the rest of the race without high jump boots, knowing that they're there and just not worried about it.
Right, and even if you wanted, or either player wanted to get them right now, they literally cannot because they're not equipped to do so. They would need a secondary power bomb pack or some other explosive.
Screw attack or another. Yep.
So yeah, that and that can also impact down the line whether they run into gravity or not. Like, and you can sequence break certain things with high jump boots. I actually had this conversation recently. And even if you are able to sequence break it, though, you still got a bunch of other rooms later you got to deal with, like, for example, in Lower Norfair without them. So high jump boots, very powerful. We're not sure yet exactly how they fit into the logical puzzle of this one, so to speak, but we'll find out as we make our way through it.
Yeah, I mean, Lower Norfair with high jump boots is obviously way easier to maneuver. It's either that or you're going to want ice or something to just help you get through.
Yeah, I'm always happy to have extra movement items pretty much anywhere in the game, but especially in Lower Norfair and Meridia, they can make a really big difference for, something you and I were talking about before we went live, Vincent. I think we were referring to certain strats, and it's like, not only are they faster, but they just make like the execution way easier. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so those extra movement items, are they will reduce the number of mistakes that you make in a way, or I guess reduce the likelihood of you making mistakes.
So I just want to point out here that we still got 3 majors showing in Green Bren, but as you can see, the runners have just got rewarded with 2 E-tanks, which this is another thing. These runs you don't necessarily know where the E-tanks are, but getting this extra E early is huge. Knowing you might have to neither runner has a suit right now. We might have to do some hell runs in Upper Norfair, and now both players are going to be way more equipped with now a reserve tank and three E-tanks to make those hell runs.
You know what, Vincent? That is an excellent point. And another, it's funny how all these things you and I talked about before we even went live are kind of showing up in the race already. I have been genuinely kind of surprised. Like, we don't know exactly how all these modes are going to race and how, a lot of the data is going to come back on them. But I have been surprised in this week's settings how many times E-tanks have been a legitimately big factor and how people approach the seeds. Normally, when you think of full, you're like, okay, there's going to be plenty of E-tanks around, but that's not always the case.
Well, yeah, and I in your race yesterday, I saw you went to Gauntlet and got 2 extra E-tanks. Your opponent didn't, and that made a huge difference in your ability to traverse through Upper Norfair right away.
It did.
So those things are incredibly important. Just as important, really, that getting your first 3-4 tanks in this is every bit as important as getting the majors.
You're right, and I know it sounds people always talk about their favorite items, and yes, I'm not saying I get thrilled when I see an E-tank when I'm looking for an important item, but I don't hate E-tanks at all. Like, E-tanks are nice to have.
Especially those first 3 or 4, first 4 for sure. Then it makes a lot of things a lot more comfortable, shall we say.
Oh, for sure.
Now we got phatscott checking Mission Impossible, and it's X-ray scope. Okay.
Well, remember my discussion earlier about dead major items relative to the logic? Well, here we are. So I'm curious to see what the other 2 in Green Brimstone are.
Still a few areas to check here. The nice thing, this versus some of the other categories, you're seeing a lot more rooms than you see in, there's bombs. Okay. You're seeing a lot more items than you see in maybe a a major minor or a chosen statue, because items can be anywhere. And oh wow, okay, we have bombs and wave beam. Wave replaces charge.
Now, bombs is not a dead item logically, but it is I love bombs, but in terms of just like absolute overall power, they're probably like the most versatile item, but they're not extremely powerful, if that makes sense. Um,
It
so,
does.
so
It does.
yeah, so that was still like they didn't get a major haul necessarily here.
At the same time, I also look well, and the thing is, they're not getting punished for grabbing it at all. It's because it's right
Oh
there
no,
at charge
yeah,
missiles, and then let's say there's a room where we're going to need to infinite bomb jump, or that's in case that's in logic. Now they have it; they don't have to backtrack for it or worry about trying to find it.
yeah, you are 100% right. I can't tell you there have been plenty of races that I've managed to be victorious in which I single bomb jumped up worst room in the game. So, yeah, bombs. I mean, bombs are useful. I'm never turning them down.
All right, so we have Chemo in Red Bryn first, and we're seeing that there's nothing there. So, no reason to check alpha power bombs, or none of these areas are required. No check in Spazer. This is just it's a time sink that you have to run through. So, and that's another point about these settings is if you see the double goose eggs up there, there is no reason to check the area unless you desperately need ammo or e-tanks.
Right. Luckily for them, they actually have had a very strong haul of tanks early, and I realize they only have 3 tanks, but one of the reserves. But those reserves are handy. I mean, it's a tank, so that having 4 there puts the hell runs technically already in logic. So that's going to lead to some flexibility for both runners moving forward.
For sure. Well, Upper Norfair is loaded with 4 major items. Plenty of locations to check here, but that's quite a few.
Yeah, Cemo's pulled into a pretty significant lead here. We'll also kind of have to wait and see what each runner decides to do moving forward. Ooh, another E-Tank. That
E-tank,
is
wow.
very
Okay.
nice to find right before the hell run. He can save and then potentially check ice if he wants to, and then reset if it's nothing. But yeah, he's got multiple options here. Looks like phatscott going up.
Yeah, we big divergence there. Seeing phatscott go up to, this has got to be a trip to wreck ship because there's no reason to check anything here.
Correct. And we have seen seeds in this week's setting where Fantoon was actually at Fantoon, which is possibly one of the most advantageous things that can happen. If you get lucky enough for it to happen and you go to wreck ship early. But if phatscott runs into Ridley or Dragon here, I'm not saying that the whole thing was a complete waste, but at the same time, I mean, that's the kind of information where the value you get from that information moving forward versus the time allotment that you put into it versus your opponent, it's probably not in your favor.
And because of the ammo situation, this is why, this is why supers become so important. Has to go over here for a ship reload and got that pink Kirby ship going on. Taking the save over here, but did not have the super to open the door to moat.
That's right. In the meantime, Cemo, I think, just found a super in the wall for the ice tower down there, and so he's going to leave that behind. And then let's see what's at ice. My assumption is if it's anything other than a major item or an E-tank, he is going to reset. Now, I could be wrong about that, but we'll see.
Although we do see Scott is actually going up to Gauntlet.
Yeah, and here's...
Wants that high jump. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, you probably want to keep that. So here's the thing. Normally, I would say this play is a little questionable for Scott, but at the same time, he knows that high jump boots is back there, right?
Yes.
And then secondly, it's possible he could get another tank or something here. So I don't mind the play. In fact, it could be, logically required. Like, let's imagine for a minute that we end up with a suitless seed somehow, like a suitless Meridia. Then the high jump boots will be required. But it is a bit of a time investment. We'll see how it goes.
It is going to get rewarded with an E-tank. And we know we know high jump boots are on the back end, so that's a big movement item. We already discussed its advantage in Lower Norfair and plenty of other areas of the game.
You know, in Cemo's situation, this is really tough. I actually don't know. I'm kind of theory crafting on the fly, but I think I might would have reset that grapple
Okay.
because and kind of hear me out. It's not that I don't want it. I'm just willing to come back for it. Yes, it'll be an extra 45 seconds, but he's already used more than that trying to farm health here. So basically, I think the most likely scenario for speed is reset, have the full hell run, go clear everything you need to clear, and then later, when you know for sure you have enough health and it's not going to matter, you can clear that on the way out or before you go down. But I certainly don't hate his choice. I'm just saying it's a complex one that is tough to deal with.
Well, these are the for those of you who haven't done this, these are the tough decisions these runners have to make on the fly in these seeds. What is and what is or what isn't the right choice. It's not clear all the time.
Agreed. And here's, it's funny. I was having this discussion either 2 days ago or yesterday or today with some people in my chat. But I would actually feel slightly different about it if Sova did not have, quote unquote, the nothing on its loot table. And I'm not going to sit here and give a 5-minute lecture about the intricacies of the drop tables. But let's just put it this way: it makes farming even more difficult. And that's why I think a lot of people try to avoid that situation.
This is going to be close. Oh, does get through in time with 16 health. Woo! Okay. That's an uncomfortable feeling, but does get through. Not unscathed, but alive.
He's got enough energy here to go directly down to the bugs, which is surely what he's going to do here. He should, by the time he shoots them, they should only drop energy because he should be in health bomb range. A little bit of an unnecessary pause buffer, but I don't mind it because it's only a couple seconds, and I think it was to protect himself and make sure he got the drops. But he's good now.
Yeah, and this is one of those quick farm locations.
Right, and Rumble is making a good point in the chat, which is that decision I was talking about earlier where I made the suggestion that maybe he should just reset. This time right here that he's spending farming these bugs is part of that equation too. Because he would have been able to get into Bubble Mountain and immediately make it up to the speed booster place. He still would have had to farm there a little bit, but he would have had a head start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's and we'll see when Scott gets down, or phatscott gets down there, how much energy he has to carry through, and whether or not he goes and checks ice first. So we'll see now that he's headed down to Lower Norfair or Upper Norfair.
Good, yeah, that's right. And Cemo's gonna check the reserve early. I like it. Also, he did a really nice job getting out of the save room and up Bubble Mountain. Now, if I recall correctly, Cemo did not check Kraid, right?
Correct.
All right.
So Cemo does not know what we got here. So this is new information for us. Oh.
Ooh, screw attack, but he's got to reset that. He fell in he took too much damage, but at least he knows where it is.
Yes.
All right, let's find out what's at Kraid. Vincent, what is your official pick, and then chat. What do you guys think is going to be the first boss here that shows up at Kraid's lair?
I'm feeling a Dragon here. I'm feeling Dragon here.
I am too. I'm going to officially call it Dragon, and if it's not Dragon, I'm going to say it's Phantoon. Here we go.
In the chat, we got a whole mix. We got some vanilla Kraid, some Phantoon, some Dre, some Ridley. So one of us is going to be, one group of us is going to be right. So.
Yeah, Rumbleman's from way downtown with the Trinex pick. Heaving up a prayer there from half court. It's Dragon. Oh, let's go.
All right. And the reset. Yeah, without a lot of the major movement items to get out of there, this is a necessary reset. Unfortunately, but this also gives Scott's got that information that the other three. Oh,
Nice beam.
ice beam down at speed missiles. All right.
Yeah, so to your point, Fat Scott is not going to be punished. And again, when I say punished, I don't mean it like, oh, vanilla speed
No
booster.
speed.
Back-to-back Ice Beam speed booster is huge. So it's not that Scott made a bad decision and he's being punished for it. Sometimes you can make the right decision and still it not work out. I don't think him going over there and getting that information will cost him any time unless if cemo happens to get there with gravity suit, like if he shows up to it later, like let's say gravity's one of the last items here in Upper Norfair, then he'll be able to kill Dragon, and then immediately leave without all the resets and all that jazz. So it's like cemo's on a bit of a free roll, if that makes sense. It could be that he doesn't lose any time to it, or it could be that both runners are even.
Absolutely. Well, and I've seen a lot of runners use the reset the proper way. Like, I've got to make this reset. I've got to make this choice. I've got to get away from here, or I've got to go. I'm going to go check this, and hey, it's not worth the time, because the backtracking in a lot of those cases is worth more than is far more than the time that it takes to reset and have gained that information, especially with the way this seed is set up.
True, and Zeb made a good point in the chat too. That cemo does have grapple beam now, even though he does not have high jump boots, and he will not have high jump boots prior to seeing Dragon. I mean, that's pretty much almost guaranteed. If he knows how to do, if he's comfortable with the high jump bootless Dragon grapple escape, which in my opinion is a pretty tough trick, but I would not doubt that cemo could do it. But if he can pull that off, he could just go ahead and knock out that fight.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about the difficulty of pulling that one off. That's an extremely tough trick to pull, and seen some people attempt it and not just not be able to pull it off. So cemo was trying to go back and get that screw attack, but still doesn't have enough energy and is going to have to go do more farming.
Okay, that's a good point. Also, I just saw in chat, cemo is they, them. My apologies. I did not mean to accidentally use the wrong terms there, but we'll get it straight.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
So yeah, back to the point that I was making, which is cemo is now going to head to. Like, my assumption would be that I can understand skipping the Kraid location and going to Upper Norfair to collect a bunch of things first, and then hopefully maybe you get something that'll help you. I was going to say I'd be surprised if they did not go check this now. Now we're going to find out though whether or not they want to do this fight without high jump boots to go with it. I still think it can work, but sometimes if you mess up some of the grapple kills, you can lose a lot of energy. So I don't know. It's a tough situation.
I kind of like the zero Kraid nope out.
Yeah, I'm actually a little curious about that. I don't hate the play, but let's put it this way, or maybe cemo checked it earlier and I just missed it somehow. Like that I wouldn't be surprised if I accidentally didn't notice something, but or maybe cemo wants to go get more items. But I'm a little surprised because if cemo is not aware of the boss that's there and is just proactively skipping and refusing to check it, I would want to check it, because if it's Phantoon and you're forced into some kind of wreck ship play, you have to kill Phantoon down there first. So maybe cemo already saw it and I just missed it, but if not, I do find this to be a little bit of an aggressive play, but luckily it's going to work out.
We will see, because at this point, the only logical place that cemo is going is to wreck ship. So that's all I can see them doing from here.
Yeah, in the meantime, Scott is clearing out his Upper Norfair, and he actually has 2 extra energy tanks at his disposal, which is very nice to have. Oh, another one.
More E. Okay, so Scott is very comfortable with tanks at this point. 7 tanks. That's well more than enough for the run. Oh, where cemo is.
You know what?
Criteria.
So now I have a new theory. Maybe cemo decided not to check Kraid, knowing because cemo they know that high jump boots is here. So maybe that's potentially signaling us that they still felt it was a 50-50 proposition, because if it was Dragon, they weren't going to feel comfortable going for it. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's one way to interpret it.
Yeah, this is definitely a play for those boots, though. Okay.
And for the record, I would be doing the same thing. I'm not comfortable with the high jump bootless escape from Dragon, so it would be very unlikely for me to go for it in a race, so I totally support these decisions.
So we do see the huge difference in tanks where Scott now does have that screw attack, where cemo does not have that, or cemo does not have that advantage. They are definitely, getting that would have made getting through these rooms much faster.
It would have. I guess the flip side is cemo is also equipped. Okay.
Oh, good save.
cemo also is equipped with speed booster in some of the rooms on the way out that phatscott didn't have. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen here. I mean, I think Scott, if he wants to, I still feel like cemo has a pretty significant lead. If Scott wants to get back into it, I think his best way to do it would be to take a risky croc. I wouldn't call it risky, but I would go to croc.
Yeah, and obviously at this point we're checking for suits. We're hoping we've got Varia or Gravity somewhere locked behind Croc.
Yeah, I like how Scott has managed his energy here. That's a really good job.
Yeah, knows that energy refill is right there. Very comfortable with that play. Comes down with low energy, but knows it's just a door transition away from safe. And now we're down to our poor friend Croc.
2.
That's big. So this may very well pay off.
We know it's not grapple, right? We know it can't be grapple because we already know where grapple is. We know it's not screw attack. Well, I guess they already have that. So space jump, spring ball, 2 suits, charge, and plasma are all that's left. That's a pretty nice haul, no matter what 2 you get.
Exactly. I mean, and if this happens to be a suit and charge, or even charge plasma, that would be gigantic. Oh well, speaking of one of those.
All right, there's beam number 1.
All right.
Don't you hate it when you got all 4 beams? You have all 5, like you have 4 or 5, and the one you don't have is charge.
Oh, that's so brutal. Cause
such a tease.
cemo is headed back down to Norfair. Way more comfortable now that they have those high jump boots.
Yeah, at this point, I think phatscott's in the lead now, right?
I would think so, especially
pretty far.
Just grab plasma. We're not sure what this other item's going to be, but almost regardless of what it is, because of the available items left, the only one. Oh, and it's Varia. All right.
Yeah.
So okay. So phatscott is on their last trip to Norfair.
Oh, cemo, don't do it. Don't do it.
cemo's going to do it. They're going to do it.
Well, at the same time, I can understand somewhat, I don't know. If I'm cemo, though, if I'm in their position, I don't feel like I'm, behind necessarily. Or if I am, I don't feel like it's to the point where I can't make some ways to catch up. But, I mean, I guess if cemo gets lucky and Gravity happens to be down here and it's forced no matter what, then it's fine. But otherwise, this is going to be tough. Scott, if he just follows the logical pattern, clears out lower Norfair, and now it's going to be a lot easier because he's got high jump boots. If gravity happens to be down in lower Norfair, I don't really know how cemo can get back into it, really.
Yeah, which we'll find out soon. You know, so phatscott's going to be able to take this lower Norfair run. Does have a potential. Doesn't have grapple yet, so not an necessarily easy escape from Dre.
By the way, sick Everest. I had to point that out. cemo did a great job.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, you were saying?
You know, but for the most part, is going to be able to just run up to Turian after this.
cemo needs to super the wall here. Oh, actually, I take that back. Dude, epic play.
That's so outstanding. You know,
epic play.
I was talking. You know, Kip and I were talking before the race just about you know, some of the tricks you see that pop up in these randomizers, like seeing something like that. That's there's a space jump. Speaking of big movement items,
if gravity is up here somehow, I don't even know. Someone needs to help me because I can't remember. Can gravity be in the watering hole, or is it only this location? Is it only beach that it can be in? Okay, then cemo needs, in my opinion, excuse me, they don't know this, but at the same time, like, if gravity is not here, they're in real bad shape.
That's about to check the famous Mickey Mouse.
Oh my
gosh. Beam. All right, so Scott has the full beam combo. Has Varia. Just missing that space jump that we know the location of. So the only item we currently don't know the location of is the pancakes, aka Grav.
Correct. And at this point, I don't think there's a gravity location that can even really... Well, I shouldn't say that because we don't know how Scott will handle it later, but there... I think the only gravity locations potentially left are Mama Turtle. And if Scott happened to go there first, if it was a suitless seed, then cemo would have lost some time here, but we'll see. I mean, how many item locations are left? We've got one here in West Meridia, or one item. I don't think there's any in East, right? There's none in Lower Norfair. Is it Wreck Ship? Is Wreck Ship going to hold the goods? So is it Varia into Lower Norfair to kill Fantoon and to Wreck Ship to get gravity?
That very well may be what we're seeing Scott in the progress of doing right now. Is going down, and I'm going to guess because of that this is Fantoon down at Lower Norfair.
I'm gonna go with you on this one, Vincent. Let's see what happens.
Hey, we already called Dre at.
We're gonna go 4 for 4. We're going 4 for 4, and we're gonna retire.
Now we're seeing the power of that full beam combo, just nuking those pirates.
Yeah, what is that, like the spaghetti pasta beam? It's like red.
I love these sprites. Yeah, that was a well executed space pirate fight. That's one of those things that I remember, like, as a kid trying to get through that fight was always a nightmare. And you watch the practice that the top runners have put into those fights to make them easy. It's pretty amazing. Oh, it is.
Hey, we were wrong.
It is Kraid. Okay. Well, no, Kraid's not going to hide any surprises for us.
Okay.
Turtle Spring Ball.
You know what that tells me? I think we got vanilla Fantoon.
Very well may.
I think we might have vanilla Fantoon with gravity and wreck ship. It's not guaranteed yet, but I think that might be the situation. That's wild. Imagine if somebody had gone up there right off the bat.
That would have been huge. Because
Of course.
we're watching.
Oh, go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, we're watching cemo execute this, this suitless Meridia play. And it's definitely time to make movement through this, and that gravity suit just makes all of this half the time. But we see cemo is going to exit Meridia. Not sure where they're headed now.
Yeah, and I was going to say that even though I think that is the scenario, kind of like other sportscasters of other sports where they make predictions, then it turns out that they're way wrong. I can't tell y'all how many times I've been in the middle of practicing and been like, oh, okay, now that I've seen X, Y, and Z, that means I definitely have to do this thing over here, and turns out that I forgot something. So take what I said with a grain of salt. We'll find out shortly if Phantoon is actually up there or not.
cemo is headed over, and we'll see that Dragon fight at the created location. Seeing that screw attack come into play and be very useful to get through a room that can be tough if you don't have that attack. Those key hunters have definitely taken down their fair share of runners.
You are correct about that. By the way, I gotta say, I am a huge fan. When Ball Shuffle is on, we see the good old Kraid refill get used pretty regularly, and it's nice to see that room.
Well, again, this just goes to the nice thing about other than MM2 running map completion all the time. There's not many opportunities in some of these races to see, or speed runs, where you're going to see the number of rooms that you see during the Varia randomizers.
That's true.
Especially a setting like this.
So this Dragon fight can still be pretty tricky here, actually. With only the power suit, you obviously want to get the... All right, so he did a good job, but he's still going to take a couple hundred... it was like 230 or so damage, which was not quite, but close to half of his total pool. Now he's going to get some back. Okay, good. I like this play. cemo went ahead and gave an attempt, got it very easily, got out of there without taking much damage, but he would have been able to pick up the drops if he had messed up anyway as a little bit of a refill. So that was great. Great job.
Yeah, great execution of that escape. One of those tricks that you don't learn if you do normal speedrunning.
No, you're right. And cemo, I think they run RBO. Someone in the chat can correct me. I think that cemo is pretty experienced with a lot of the RBO strats. So that's, another example of run multiple categories, learn tech for rando.
Scott grabs that grapple, and now we'll see whether his choice is to go direct ship or attempt to suitless Meridia.
Yeah, kind of like what we were mentioning at the beginning, I'm not, obviously super duper familiar with every aspect of every runner's game, right? Everybody has different things they're comfortable with, and they're coming from different backgrounds. So I don't know what all Fat Scott has done or is willing to do in a race scenario. But it wouldn't shock me to see him just go straight to direct ship. And I think that's probably what we're going to see. But, if he decides to give the suitless a shot, I certainly don't blame him for that either. In fact, I don't know. Even though Scott should be in the lead here, and he is, they are still definitely... cemo still has outs. Yes,
well, now cemo did make the croc play, so is going to get the plasma beam and the Varia back here. So definitely a huge pickup. but with low life is going to have to be really careful crossing this acid pit. Oh, never mind. It has grapple if it comes to. Oh, never mind. That's right. Space jump. Forgot that item was picked up along the way.
Right. It's okay. It's all
Never
good,
mind.
man.
All easy there. All right.
You sound just like the runners because we forget stuff all the time too.
The number of times that I've seen runners forget they have spring ball.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've made all kinds of errors on stuff like that.
Spring ball, honestly, is probably the one I see runners forget they have the most. Especially like I've seen runners going through Meridia, trying to get to the boss fight, and just forgetting that they can easily jump over and spending time wasting time on bombs. Well, Scott's got that microwave beam, and this is something that those of you who are trying to execute this, if you notice, Fat Scott was crouched to start that microwave beam, but as soon as
Scott, nice.
yes, very nice. But as soon as Samus stood up, it's actually the game telling you that Dragon is fried and cooked, and you can stop. Which is nice because you're not over nuking, so you're not wasting extra time. So that's something that make sure if you use a microwave beam, start in that crouch position, and then when you pop up to standing, you can stop.
Yep, it's really lovely tech. It's super fun to do and super easy. It almost feels like putting on like a cheat code in like GoldenEye or something. And, like you just become like supremely powerful. It's like having a game genie.
Well, some of the tricks that you guys are able to pull off movement-wise remind me of people with a game genie rocking anyway.
Right. Well, I was wrong once again. I predicted that Fat Scott would not be doing Suitless Meridia, and I was wrong.
All right, so both players will have navigated this the hard way.
The funny thing is he doesn't know it, but I am very confident that if he just did not try anything crazy and went direct ship and found gravity, he would still be in the lead. That's how much time he's got. Cemo has not yet done Lower Norfair. They're heading that direction right now, down the elevator. And there is all kinds of ways that Suitless can go wrong, as we are seeing once again, because Fat Scott has killed the fish twice in a row now with Plasma Beam. It's not the greatest idea to be doing things that you are not like very, very, very familiar with. I mean, maybe if he's done a bunch of practice, cool, but I would recommend against this play unless you are just very, very, very experienced with the sequence.
And does turn off plasma and goes to spacer. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm starting to get nervous now for Scott.
Yeah, we definitely saw an execution difference of Cemo versus Scott in getting through these areas.
Yeah. I'm not rooting for either player. Every time I'm on comms, I'm just trying to calm what I see. But obviously no one ever wants to see something, massively not work for a player, right? And I do believe Scott can get through this, and he's doing a great job now. But at the same time, there's so much unknown about what choices he's going to make over the next 5 minutes. And it is very possible that he gives a lot of this lead that he has back. Maybe he won't. We'll see. I'm not rooting for it to happen, obviously. But there's just a lot of ways that things can go wrong in some of these rooms. So we'll see. We'll see how he manages it.
All right, now Cemo joins that full beam combo team. Mickey Mouse hiding the best beam. Great movement through this room for Cemo.
Now, it looks to me like Scott is just saying straight up, like, I'm just doing all suitless. And you know what's funny? I actually approve of this play.
You know, you've got
I like it.
You got the grapple to, you know, and we've already seen Scott execute this grapple jump. So the grapple jump to get up to the room, ice to, oh yeah, just gotta get that out of there.
I hate the snails.
Ice clip coming on the Metroid to get into Botwomb room. Oh, the snail!
Dude, I'm telling you, you need to blow it up. Drop a power bomb. Give up. You lose. Yep. You never win. You never win against the snails. All right, give up.
And that snail eats a power bomb. Well executed grapple jump there. Up into these Metroid rooms. Gonna have to use that ice to freeze one of those Metroids to execute a clip. Kip, do you want to explain kind of how these clips work?
Yeah, I would love to. If I could.
All right.
But I can't. So, look, man. When it comes to a lot of these tricks, I just know how to do them. I don't always know exactly what it is. But basically, you're being you're putting yourself in a position where there's some kind of amount of space where you can jump into when you compress your hitbox. And then when you expand your hitbox back from that pointing down position, then it allows you to clip up into the next level. So there you go.
There's a few places in the game where you can actually pull that off. Even if you got it, the grabbing the charge beam, that's one of the locations you can pull something like that off. Escaping the room right next to Power Bomb's a Shame. That's one of those places where you can clip through. So there are a few places in the game where you can pull off that trick. Actually, right where Cemo's passing through right now. Oh, speaking of,
yes. Yeah, he's doing the exact same thing. Or they.
Yeah. Yep, they executed it there. All right.
Oh, I got it, dude. Cemo just crushed one of the best strats in this game.
Wow.
They
escape.
They use the iframes. I mean, even though we use that in like the new route 80%, and I guess possibly in old route 2, I can't keep up with all the strats across the different categories. But basically, you use the iframes to then get your 3-tap in and do a speedball through Wasteland. It is so cool looking and saves a bunch of time. In the meantime, though, awesome. Yeah, it was great job. Fat Scott is having a very solid suitless, and recall that Cemo, they will have to come and do the exact same thing or invest the time into going to wreck ship. And so either way, assuming Fat Scott can not have any major issues in the next 2-3 minutes, I think Fat Scott has sort of managed this well enough to remain in the lead.
Yeah, very likely. Well executed suitless Meridian, which is an extremely difficult thing to pull off. Like, you have to be very deliberate with your movement. We got Ridley here, so yes, it is in fact Mantoon at wreck ship. So had someone made that early play, it would have paid off handsomely, because gravity is in fact up there. And we have, nice, quick, dead Ridley. We see the advantage of having that many supers, because with that many, you just don't even need to worry about charge beam. You just unload supers into that scaly skin and make it dead fast.
Yeah. So at this juncture, we're bringing up some good points in the chat here. It looks like we. I actually don't know exactly how this is going to work. Fat Scott does not have Spring Ball. And so I'm not really sure how he's going to plan to get out of here. I guess he's trying to get some interesting physics dynamics or whatever, or not dynamics, physics So maybe he can. Okay, that worked. Wow, I still don't think he can get out of this room though, can he?
I'm not sure. This is.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, yeah.
So we were just talking about. Yeah, that's not going to work. Cannot bomb jump down here.
Yep, and you know what? Technically, I guess I should go back and think about it because technically I would have liked this play had he had a guaranteed way to get out, but I forgot that he didn't get Spring Ball. Because Spring Ball was one of the suitless items in Meridia, wasn't it? Didn't Cemo get it at like Mama Turtle or something like that?
Yes, it was a Mama Turtle.
See, I'm telling you, man, you can just accidentally kind of overlook, one detail, and it completely changes the whole thing. I don't know if Fat Scott can actually get out of here, and I didn't even notice it until it was too late.
Yeah, this may. I'm not sure where Fat Scott's last save was, but this could be devastating. This could erase every bit of that lead. Because we now see Cemo is about to catch up to that location and does have Spring Ball to escape.
Yep, this is, one of those nightmare scenarios that I discussed earlier that would have to happen to get Cemo back in the game. But I think, I think they're in the lead now.
If they know how to do it, is it possible to do an X-ray climb here?
Okay, here's the deal. I've never X-ray climbed in my life. We have a bunch of people in chat that have, so I'm sure they could tell you. But I think it actually is possible here because the door is facing left. Had it been a different boss door, I don't think it would have been the case. But someone needs to, someone would have to correct me on that.
Yeah, I think this is one of the rooms I've seen. I watch June who does crazy nightmare seeds in this all the time. Do a lot of X-ray climbs. This is a room I've seen Junie climb out of before. So, but that's assuming that Scott knows that that ability and knows how to do that.
Okay, so first of all, no matter what ends up happening from this point forward, obviously both runners certainly gave it their all and did a good job. And I can't blame Scott at all for trying to make this play. This is the type of play that I would certainly try to make. And it's just one of those things where you accidentally forget a component. It happens to everybody, right? So let's talk for a minute, though, about, I guess, what I'm most fascinated by, and it's maybe not something we can even really get a definitive answer to right now, but I'm curious as to why both players felt like they had to do Suitless Meridia without going to wreck ship in order to be able to win. It's not about just finishing the seed. It's about how you feel like you are relative to your opponent, right? So I'm curious as to, if either one of them considered just doing the regular wreck ship play and felt like it would be fine and that they would still be in the lead, or if they both felt behind and that's why they felt the need to make the hero play.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's tough. It's really tough. We see Scott's having a real tough time just getting up, and if you get back onto that platform, there's no way to get from there up to that top level. Cemo's now fighting their Ridley fight. Again, ton of supers, and Ridley's just gonna get destroyed here by those missiles. But yeah, this is, at what point does Scott stop trying to bang their head against the wall, and and also how far ago was their last save? How far ago did Scott have his last save? Because that's a big part of this too, and maybe why we're seeing him continue to try to fight through this. Because if it was all the way back 10 minutes ago, then it's over.
Yeah, you're right. This race is practically over right now, unless I'm talking. And for the record, Vincent, we have seen some, every so often lightning strikes, right? Both literally and metaphorically. One time we had someone lose power, in the middle of a run.
Yes.
Right? Okay. In another case, someone was convinced that they were behind, ended up dying at Mother Brain, and got reset back to the 15-minute mark. But it just so happened that the other person had something similar happen to them. So you just never know. But right now, this game is over in Cemo's favor unless something really, really wild happens.
Yeah, which is why I always always say in chat when I'm watching these races where it looks like it's over, but you never know. And now we are going to see cemo with that spring ball. We're going to see the spring ball jump.
Get your tech here.
Which does allow you to escape rooms like these. Oh, and Scott, looks like there's a timer reset.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that might be a forfeit.
Yeah. Yes, it is in fact a forfeit. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, like we said before, it's not like we're explicitly rooting for one runner or another. Obviously, I want to see every runner do their best. It is always a little bit more. It feels a little worse when something like this happens when you are actually winning. You know what I mean? And so I'm sure when he watches this back, that'll be a bit of a bummer. But it was a great effort and against a great opponent. And starting the tournament 3-1 is something to be very proud of.
Yeah, and obviously at 3-1, you're not even close to out of contention. Very much still in the there's 3 more weeks left after this week. We got 1 more race left today. Can still conceivably go 6-1. It's the top 16 runners that are going into that final tournament. Looking forward to when we get there, but still got some great weeks coming up too. So I'm excited because this is I've got my favorite game that I enjoy speedrunning, but this is my favorite game to watch runners, and these races the last 4 weeks have been an absolute blast.
Yeah, didn't you say you were a Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide randomizer runner?
Yes.
You know what's crazy? I think I've only run like 2 other randomizers in the world. One recently, A Link to the Past, but Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide is the other one that I actually played for a little while. Not competitively or anything. I just ran some seeds for fun because I love Final Fantasy VI. But yeah, man, I understand that game's really fun.
Well, and this year at Summer Games Done Quick, it actually got there was a seed ran in one of the races for Games Done Quick this summer.
Yeah,
which
that's
is awesome. Because it's only been around since last January, so getting that GDQ play already is huge, and the community's obviously very excited for the randomizer about that.
All right, so when are we going to have instead of SMZ3? When are we going to have SMF6 combo randomizer?
Oh, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Get equipped. I can't wait to find airship at Gauntlet. I'm just kidding. I know it doesn't work that way, but I'm just coming up with silly stuff.
Well, all the major minor checks could be like, you're randomly finding a Lumina or something.
Exactly. cemo, nice tech there. You know what? I can't explain how that tech works. Like, I am generally aware of how it works, but I've never done it before, so I'm sure someone in chat can explain it. But basically, it's a combination of different inputs that is supposed to provide certain animations to Samus that allows her to get her spin back there.
Yep, cemo now. We'll head up to Wreck Ship, where we're gonna find. Well, I at this point, I don't think cemo needs to spend the time looking for gravity. Even they have everything they need to finish. It's so weird just the way these seeds played out. If someone had, if either one of them had went for the early Wreck Ship play, would have had the gold mine.
Yep, that's true.
And it's and it goes against conventional wisdom, because a lot of the runners this week, every time they went to Wreck Ship, it's turned out to be the first of 2 trips to Wreck Ship.
Right. Well, the good news for cemo is this. Everybody responds differently, but if I was in cemo's shoes, what would I be thinking at the end of this? I would be thinking, I don't remember anything that happened. All I know is I won, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. Although, like, I play the card game Magic Gathering competitively, so after every game, I always analyze what did I, even if I won, I'm always looking back and going, okay, so what plays did I make that were less optimal?
Yeah, for sure.
And I know like watching you and Zost and Zenny, watching you guys run, you definitely spend time analyzing your rooms of like, what did I do wrong in this approach? Watching back your own runs, and you're seeing, well, that room, I didn't execute that well, or I didn't do this well.
Oh yeah, you're 100% right about that. You will. That is one of the fun things, in my opinion, about sort of an ancillary thing, but it's one of the most fun things about these tournaments is you legitimately get to do a performance and have your performance side by side with someone else's, and you can cross compare a bunch of different things and actually legitimately in real time see how certain things work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's really fun. I think anyone who's a fan of randomizers, no matter the game, sort of has part of the fun is that the whole mathematical stuff behind it, right? So I think just thinking about it is really part of the fun experience of being a part of these things.
Yeah, well, and your point that you just brought up of this race where you're able to compare it with someone side by side, that's way more rewarding in a lot of ways than if you were to watch it, watch your own solo race, because you've got you've got someone else's run to look at and be like, oh well, if I had done this, or maybe, or in some cases you get to watch them execute something, you're like, I didn't know that trick. Or I need to learn how to do that trick.
And you'll be surprised. You will. This has happened to me many times, even as an experienced runner. I have watched other runners that are less experienced than me play, and they'll do stuff that I'm like, oh man, I never thought about that. Like, I actually really like that in that context. Or, oh, I didn't realize that this strat that I'm running, there's actually an easier way to do it. Like, you know what I mean? So you can learn from veterans and new players alike. That's one of the things I love about Super Metroid. It's very, you can be a true artist in this game.
Well, I think what we see too is that the level of running has gotten insanely better in just the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the average runner is now executing tricks that other runners are still building towards.
Yes, the just as a metric, just for speedrunning, not even rando, but like just looking at the top 100, 80%, like what it would take to be in the top 100 when I first started is drastically different now. You know what I mean? We've had a lot of really good players come in, very competitive, and a lot of them show up in these tournaments for randomizer stuff too. We got a lot of really good randomizer players out there, and that's why I really enjoy when these tournaments are going on, not only because I get to play, but because I get to keep up with all the cool stuff everybody's doing.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and I as I mentioned earlier, it's my favorite game to watch speedruns of. So I watch Zost, I watch Zenny, I watch. I've watched the progression of runners like ARC and Nevd and you, and just how how in that same time the top times have dropped. Did we ever think that 100% would be at the number it's at now? Not this soon. Not this soon. Like,
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, 100%. Or much less that there would be multiple people like legitimately in range of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time to be involved in Super Metroid speedrunning, whether rando or the vanilla boards. But yeah, speaking of which, cemo, I think one of the things that makes cemo a very strong randomizer player, and cemo is a player. It's tough to make predictions. Obviously, some of the stuff can turn on a dime, right? I mean, you can be a great player, have a good plan, and occasionally still run into a bad streak of luck and, lose some games or whatever. But cemo is one of those players that I think has a lot of, potential to go really deep into this tournament or even potentially win the championship. It just kind of depends, on how certain things work out. But not surprised to see cemo at 4-0 after this race, and going to be one of those people who are very, very tough to beat in every round.
All right. Let's we while cemo is getting down to the rest of executing Tyrion here, we're gonna go ahead and bring in Phatscott to talk about his run during this race. All right, we're now joined by Fat Scott. How are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, that was a tough end to that race. Obviously, as commentators, we want to see both runners have a great run or feel good about their run, and I know that's got to be tough.
I mean, I felt good before then. It didn't even, man, it didn't even hit me until I beat Ridley. And I was like, oh god, I don't know how to get out. And cemo told me that you can wiggle out with like a wiggle, but I didn't know that.
There's also you can, if you know how to X-ray climb.
That was the only... I didn't know how to do that either. It didn't even process in my mind. It was like, ugh, oh well. I think besides that, I felt good before then. It was just, I mean, like, I felt like this gave me a chance to apply some of the RBO stuff I was just learning too, which was good. But at the same time, I guess I was thinking too much in the turns of it, and that's probably why I got stuck like that. At the very least, I could have stayed, and I didn't think about that either. So, I mean, I definitely deserved to lose there, though, because I made a dumb mistake. But
up until that point, well, at that point, you got to that boss pretty ahead in time. So, it's everything you executed before that, it was going really well for you, and we did see some of those RBO strats come in for you for play. Saw some great movement, really good execution. Just, it's one of those things that and Kip will definitely agree with this. You get some hard lessons in these randomizers sometimes.
Oh, I'm muted. I got it muted. Sorry. But can you repeat what you just said? The last part.
Oh, just saying that sometimes, like these randomizers will teach you some harsh lessons. Sometimes that we've seen some strange things happen to runners towards the end of the runs, even though they're might be way out in front.
Right, Scott. Let me buffer real quick by saying, first of all, GG, I thought you ran a really good race. The fact that you had an unfortunate situation there, it definitely stinks, but at the same time, I can assure you that every runner has done something like that at a certain point or another. But if it makes you feel any better, I didn't even notice that you didn't have an item to get out until after it was too late. So even I wasn't paying close. Like if I'd been in your position, I would have done the exact same thing.
God.
But really, I mean, I know it's disappointing to have that affect your race. But that aside, I thought you played really well. You were moving really good. You seemed like you had a lot of confidence. How'd you feel otherwise?
I was definitely feeling pretty good, actually. I felt like, for the most part, the seat kind of came together for me. For the most part, like I got pretty lucky with the croc after all of the Upper North Fair stuff. I feel like the seat was actually going pretty dang well for me. I think it couldn't have gone too much better at the beginning portion, and it definitely sucked to lose that way. But like I said in the race time, you lose, you learn, and I'm not really that upset considering how I played beforehand. So I think this just tells me for next time that I need to double check before doing Suitless Meridia.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've all been there, so that'll just be one more thing that won't happen to you again in the future. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, and at least you're going to move forward, and at 3-1, you're still in a very strong position moving forward, and we're now getting into some different types of seeds moving forward, but closer to what you've done before, where this one was a big departure from the other types that he had run earlier in the tournament.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. This seed was actually a lot more fun than I was feeling at the start. At the start, I was kind of feeling like not confident at all, and then as I kind of got lucky with the shift start, I guess. I was ready for some other ones, but it was just kind of funny that we got the vanilla boring start on randomized start location.
Yeah, that is, a bit unfortunate, but yeah, I'm really happy that y'all had a good race. I mean, like this one was really competitive and had a bunch of interesting sort of branches for different decisions. So, but yes, as Vincent pointed out, starting off 3-1 is very good for a tournament like this, and especially against cemo, who they're a really strong player. So yeah, GG Scott, great job.
Thank you.
And too. I'm looking forward to looking at week 7 in a few weeks. This is another one of those full full countdown, random start, but the big difference is it's going to be area rando. So, but still the same kind of full countdown. But now we got cemo approaching that ship, landing down.
GG.
And GG in chat for cemo for the win.
Hondo is definitely my strong suit. That's my best category right now. So full countdown is usually pretty good for me. I feel like that's usually what goes well. So.
Yep, and next week's that major minor where the area rando and bosses are off, so that'll be a different play. It's still a few more weeks left in this, so a lot to shake out yet. We've got, I think after this, we have 6 or 7 undefeated players left. Looking at the standings, so that's definitely going to shake out as we go.
For sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this is going to leave us 5 undefeateds going in. So that will pare down because now the 2 of the 4-0s are going to, well, four of the 4-0s will play next week. 1 of the 4-0s will get pared down to 3 and 1. So there's a chance so we could have more moving forward. But we are now joined by cemo. Cemo, GG, and congrats on a great race.
GG.
Thanks. I don't feel particularly great about it, considering what I forgot to do when I was in Norfair.
It happens. Croc kind of sucks to check sometimes, so. But in that scenario, I felt like it was a pretty good play to do, and it ended up being the right play for me.
I had left the boots up in Criteria, because it was kind of pretty slow to go get them. And then I just found all the suitless stuff in Norfair, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's this kind of a seed.
Yeah, it was interesting that this seed, a lot of the other seeds, anyone who went to wreck ship would have been punished. But in this one, had you finished Criterion Bryn and went right to wreck ship, it would have been, opened everything else up afterwards, which really is the first time I've seen that this week. Did either one of you give consideration to wreck ship prior to a suitless Meridia?
When I went back for high jump, I considered going to wreck ship for a second, but I usually feel like I kind of just want to get high jump and then go back down because I felt like it could help me potentially down there. I didn't feel like going to wreck ship would have been worth it, even though it could have had gravity or whatever else. Did it have gravity?
Yeah.
Okay, it did. Yeah, I figured that's probably what happened near the end there, because cemo was talking about how gravity wasn't in suitless in the race.
Yeah, gravity was reserve, wreck ship reserve.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, great. So it's all the way at the end.
Yes.
Almost vanilla.
Yeah, pretty much. Still, it involves a lot of extra move to farm for that one. Yeah, one of the.
I think it's probably faster to do suitless than if you have all the stuff to go get it.
Yeah,
if you're there.
Yeah, that would be a big detour either way.
Yeah, that's rough. So what are your guys' thoughts going into? What are you going to take from this to look at week 7?
Definitely just want to. Does week 7 of area rando, or
week 7 is this same countdown? It's full countdown, area rando.
It's everything on basically. It's all big things on.
All right, gotcha. I guess just the mishap I made in Meridia, I just had to make sure I consider that, and when it comes to area rando, I usually like to clear area by area before moving on to the next one. So that's usually what I do there, especially if it's full countdown.
Emo, any last thoughts?
I mean, I'm looking forward to week 7. I think it should be pretty fun. I like area rando a lot, and I think it'll make these random start seeds a bit more fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you get the ship.
Oh yeah,
which is
I know.
A little less exciting.
Yeah,
less exciting of a start.
I like area rando a lot. Those are probably my favorite ones to do because if the seed takes me like an hour or an hour and a half to beat, I don't feel nearly as bad because sometimes area rando can be mean.
For sure, for sure. Well, guys, thanks a lot for 2 good runs today. Phatscott, obviously, tough ending to that, but up until that point, both of you are running very well. Looking forward to watching both of you in later weeks of this race. Want to, do you guys have any last thoughts before we sign off?
Just thank you guys for doing the commentary and tracking. Kip, Vincent, incompetent perfectionist. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure all the TOs do it. I guess Kip is a TO, but he appreciates that you're here with him.
That's right.
Oh yeah, and it's a blast to cover these, and Kip. Kip, thank you for being part of putting these together, because we know this. I know this cannot be easy for you and the rest of the crew to organize these tournaments, and we, the runners, the fans, us doing commentary, all of us appreciate, being able to watch these and these being a part of what we see. Tracy M does a lot of work in the background to make sure that commentary and tracking gets filled. And I will bring up incompetent perfectionist again. Tracking is not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of concentration during the run. In commentary, we can get off track a little bit and catch back up because the tracker has been taking care of things and making sure that everything's caught up. So it's a really important part of these randomizers. So we really appreciate them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also, Make Walk Heard for setting everything up for the actual race itself. That's a big part. So as the links are being shown, please follow these runners. They are giving us great races, and we want to support them. And if you guys want to follow, Kip does a lot of Super Metroid running. Incompetent Perfectionist is in this tournament. Give them a follow. We definitely appreciate support in their channels. Kip, do you have any last thoughts?
No, GG to both runners. That was a great race. Really enjoyed watching. Really enjoyed doing comms with you, Vincent. And we got one more race tonight before round 5 matchups are announced, which we'll try to get out before the night ends if we can. And then we'll start booking for next week. I'm really excited to see what our matchups are like. So thank you guys for participating, and take us home, Vincent.
Yep, as Kip said, that last race is going to be at 10 p.m. tonight on SpeedGaming 4. That'll be the last race of this week 4, and as Kip said, the races are going to be coming up. We'll get that scheduled for next week as soon as possible. Looking forward to hitting week 5, seeing the next round, which that week is a different category. All these weeks have been different categories. Loving the change, loving the variety, and thank you for coming out. Hope you guys come to tonight's race. And until then, we will see you next mission.